So, I guess this could be a part 2 to why nomadic life is depressing. As I've always said, for me, it's not the outside part of the being outside. It's like just things with society, myself, and just like how people are and how you get treated. And a lot of how you get treated revolves around what people assume your situation is. But either way, people at least know that if you're outside often, or if you like have a sleeping bag or a hammock or like outdoor gear, they at least know that you're living some type of lifestyle that's not societally acceptable. And then like that alone makes people feel some type of way. Kind of like what I used to say all the time, especially in the, what is it called, homeless industrial complex playlist. The first video I made was about the truth of homelessness, and I like used this screenshot from a Nick Johnson video where he was claiming that all homeless people are on drugs, which of course, I've always made it clear that the whole homeless drug crisis thing, they're just trying to make the drug issue about homelessness. Originally that was really a racial issue, because Caucasian people do more drugs statistically, and a big part of that is that they're allowed to. Also, it has a lot to do with like voids and existential crisis stuff, but overall, they were able to do more drugs because they didn't go to jail for it. And that's why it got really bad in their areas, because of course, as I always say, all of the quote-unquote black people pretty much live in the South. People that are trying to talk about like the 5 quote-unquote black people that live in, I don't know, the Midwest or things like that, none of that really matters. It's like it got really bad in the areas, and then they started like purposely giving these substances to the homeless people more and more, which is really a social experiment for depopulation. But overall, the whole drug thing doesn't really have anything to do with homelessness. That's just the forefront, not the forefront, the front they're putting on. It's in the forefront, the front and the forefront. That's what it is. Or maybe you could call it the cover girl. Which also, at least at one point in time, the statistics for homeless people also said that there was more homeless Caucasian people than any other group. And so that also has a lot to do with it, going along with how they were just like able to do more drugs because they didn't go to jail for it. And it's been an issue for a long time. They've been ODing for years on end, since well before the 2010s. But in recent times, they've been trying to push this homeless drug crisis psyop. But anyways, what I said in that video was that one of the reasons that people feel the way they do about homeless people, or supposedly homeless people, is that they feel like homeless people have found a way to escape having to participate in a slave system that people were raised to believe that they had no option but to be a part of. They feel like homeless people have escaped the matrix, and they're upset that they're living a life they don't want to live, working a job they don't want to work, taking care of a family and kids that they don't want and don't like, and things like that. And that's why people feel the way they do about homeless people. But like I said in the video, it doesn't really make sense, because like the stereotypical homeless person hasn't necessarily escaped the matrix. They fell behind, or they, I don't know, fell through the cracks of it. It's like that would more so be vagabonds or nomads or things like that. But even that kind of depends, because it's like the few that aren't in the lifestyle because like they had no other option originally, they're like they have jobs and stuff, and that's why they're able to travel like they do. So it's like, I don't know, it's not a new concept. I'm kind of zoning out a little bit because I see the police and I don't know if they're like coming over here or not. And actually, that's another thing I could talk about. Something else that I've mentioned plenty of times before, which is that I get arrested every 3 months. Actually, I got arrested like, what was that, yesterday? So, yeah, there is that. At least for me. But I've met other homeless people that haven't been arrested, but they still have like little crappy run-ins with law enforcement. Although I can say that where I'm currently at, it seems like in places where, I don't know, the infrastructure is still kind of like behind. I don't know if that's offensive, but you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of Abbott and Allied and security cameras and people getting on cameras telling you if you don't leave the property they're gonna like call the police and stuff like that, or claiming that they already have a warrant out for your arrest when they probably don't, but they're just trying to scare you into leaving the town or the county or the state, which that happened to me a lot of times on the West Coast. Honestly, a lot of things happen on the West Coast. It still is a better place overall for like nature, to a certain extent at least. I mean, there's nature everywhere, but there is a lot of like cool stuff out there. But I could say, just like I always say, Georgia is a quote-unquote Black California to me. And it's like a lot of culty stuff to where it's like, even though there's a lot of like cool nature stuff out there, there's still like a lot of weird things that you really have to watch out for, and that kind of like get in the way of it. Like, I just couldn't go to any body of water in California because every time I go there's always a whole bunch of naked people doing stuff. So it's like I just had to like stop going to the beach and stuff, which I kind of already barely went to because like the first time I really hung out at the beach, I almost got ran over by cops on purpose, which I mentioned before. Cause like that the homeless boy Billy who was on Soft White Underbelly, I made some reaction videos about his situation, and he talked about how he also had cops try to run him over, but that was at Venice Beach or Santa Monica, something like that. And it seems like cops do that really often. I've even like seen other people say that the cops in California do that to homeless kids all the time. So that was one reason I really wanted to stop going, but like the naked dude thing, at least the first naked dude encounter happened before that. So it was kind of like, I don't know. I guess like I've been trying to say, it's like, it's not being outside that's the issue. It's just like things with society and people that causes a lot of issues. Like even the poor treatment you get when people just assume you're in a certain bad situation. Like, I don't know, it's like whenever people think you need help, they start to like get mad at you. It kind of reminds me of a comment that I've seen somewhere that I've mentioned before in some other video. I think it was called homeless testimonies or something, I don't know, but someone said the moment you mention you're homeless or something like that, people pretty much turn into zombies, and like even their facial expressions towards you change. And it's like, you don't even have to be homeless, you just have to like be in some lifestyle that people don't like or are jealous of, or people just have to like make some assumption about what your situation is and who you are and what you've done to somebody and all the quote-unquote bridges you've burned. And then they'll start treating you funny. And I think it even goes back to this one thing that I mentioned before that this girl said that I totally understood, which is that at least at one point she wouldn't stay anywhere longer than 3 days because she starts to get depressed. Now, to be truthfully honest, I've always said that staying somewhere for 3 days and then leaving, that's a lot of moving around. And it's like, I mean, sure, if you're hitchhiking, which I would never advise doing, you can do stuff like that, but if you have to like work for a while everywhere you go to like save up money for another bus ticket, you're not going to be able to just bounce around every 3 days, unless they mean like they leave the city they're in every 3 days. But leaving the state or county every 3 days, I don't know about all that. But I could kind of understand that, maybe not the 3 days thing, but like just not wanting to stay anywhere too long, because it's like when you're in one area too long, people start to like see you too much and like draw a lot of not conclusions, create a lot of assumptions and stories about you in their head, and like then you pretty much have to leave because things just start happening. In fact, going back to me getting arrested yesterday, or just pretty often, It's like, one thing that I've learned is once the police come up to you and say something to you once, you might as well go ahead and leave that county. Because once police do something to you once, they're never going to leave you alone again after that. Like, someone even told me that they have a friend that managed to get halfway across the country, which was kind of similar to something that happened to me the other day, where like, pretty much they didn't want me in the town. I went there for a reason, but I got stuck there too long. I definitely wasn't even there for 24 hours, but I was just in one spot too long, and like, then I was like, sleep, and of course that's gonna make people feel like a lot of things are going on, although, hold on, I don't think any of that came out right. It's gonna make people feel like a lot of things are going on. Although the reality is that due to the metabolic issues I have, I fall asleep pretty often places. But when people feel like you're in like certain situations or you need help or you don't have anybody, none of that goes well together, because they feel like you're just like not doing what a quote unquote functional member of society should be doing. And so like, yeah, that happened. The police approached me the first time, which I was asleep that time. I didn't know that it was 6 a.m. But the thing is, after being on the West Coast for as long as I was, I kind of forgot about how things operate over here, especially in the South. And so, like, I forgot that some places actually open at 6 a.m. and that not everywhere opens at 12:30 and closes at 5 because they don't want to pay people $20 an hour. So, I forgot that, like, the grocery store I was outside of most likely was going to open at 6 a.m. I also didn't know it was, like, the time it was. I thought it was, like, I don't know, like 3 a.m. But I guess it was 5 when I woke up the first time and, like, saw 3 cars pull up. But, like, I don't know. I just thought they were sitting in the parking lot. And then, of course, eventually the police came. Now, of course, people always say that they didn't call, but that's hard to really trust. Like, if I didn't learn anything, if I haven't learned anything else, people will call cops on you and will come at you with like 13 security guards before they just tell you that they don't want you around. And that's really, really annoying though. It's like, people rather for you to just go to jail for no reason than just tell you that they don't want to see your face. And I just never understood that. And it's another reason why people end up out here after going through higher and lower level trafficking and just different bad situations, or they end up in nomadic life as a coping mechanism after bad situations, and they just end up developing more and more trauma and losing their mind over time, because it's like you got treated horribly before and then you get treated horribly when you're either actually homeless or you just travel often. But yeah, and it's like, something else I've seen is that the people are pretty privileged. They have things the best, but it's like, if you don't have that, or maybe if you're like a certain ethnic group, or if you just look like you're like really poor, things are just gonna be really bad. And there's already this thing that I mentioned in the last video with street kids, where like, if you're not accused of being bad and grown and a whole bunch of other stupid stuff, you're accused of like faking it. And I really hate when people like have those assumptions, because it's like, it's not like I'm running around telling people anything or asking people for like stuff, because that doesn't make anything any better anyways. I never tell people my life story anyways. I don't know why anyone really would. Nobody cares, but I don't have a reason to do that. It honestly would make things worse. Like, depending on what type of situation you were in, it's just actually going to make people look at you worse, and maybe even try to like manipulate you with some of your experiences. But it's like I don't know, it's like I don't know anyone who's really like, unless they're like really down bad, like especially like the older people, I don't know anyone that's actually running around telling people, oh, I have this and that going on, or this happened to me. It's like people just assume that you're in a situation that you need help, and then they like start treating you funny because of that, because quote unquote you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Okay, I forgot what I was talking about as usual. So, or they tell you that you're quote unquote faking it, and it's like, well, what is somebody faking if they haven't told you anything? You assume that they were in a certain situation, and then you assume that they're faking it when they haven't said jack about anything that's going on in their life. And that's really annoying. I haven't had that happen to me, though, not really, I don't think. I have heard other people, especially like street kids, get told they're faking it. I can't remember if that's ever been said like to me though, but I've had some of these experiences. At least happen in like different ways, but what was I gonna say? I don't even know. Can't really think of what else to say about it. Oh yeah, I remember now. So, going back to the whole don't be anywhere longer than 3 days. That's something you may have to do if you're in cities often. But overall, you probably will have to move around a lot. In fact, no. I mentioned this one situation before, I think in the funny situations since being homeless or something like that videos. I mentioned this one situation, I think, when I was in North Carolina, because it was 15 degrees and snowing, and I had to like go to this, what was it, like a weather shelter at this Catholic church, which I could honestly say a lot about that. But there was this one dude there who was from London or England, and he had the accent and everything. And he went there for whatever reason, but he lost his passport or something like that, and he was trying to get help to like go back to England. And I noticed that he was the only one that was actually treated like something. He was treated nicer than everybody else. And it's because, quote unquote, he is somebody. And also, he's a foreigner and he has the accent, so they know, oh, you're not from here, so you must be somebody with money that traveled here. Which honestly isn't even necessarily true. Like, I met a homeless dude from London who's technically like an illegal pretty much when I was in Manhattan or Times Square or something like that. Back in like December or January. I think December. But it's like, due to where he was from and his accent, and even how he was dressed, like he had like one of those, what are those called, pea coats? Like a detective or something. Due to all that, he was just treated better because he was somebody, and he was somebody to the staff. And he wasn't, quote unquote, the usual. But that's another reason why you should avoid these types of programs and institutions and quote unquote help unless you really, really need it. Like, if it wouldn't have been 15 degrees, well, not even that was irrelevant because I have a 0 degree sleeping bag, but if it wouldn't have been snowing, I would never went to that place. But, anywho, still. In fact, there's another thing I could go into, and I could say a lot about this, even, like, situations that happen with, like, these types of organizations when I was in my previous situation. Or at least, maybe that was still after that, but, like, even, I don't know, just going to places that claim to offer, like, support, but, like, the situation didn't revolve around homelessness or anything. It's just, like, going to these organizations for support. But anyways, another thing that I noticed with, like, the Catholic Church is that if you're staying at the shelter, you can't go to the service. And it's like, nobody really wants to go, but it's like they have coffee or hot chocolate sometimes. But it's like, if they know that you're like staying at the shelter, they don't want you to go. But also, like I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure, people already know that quote unquote black people aren't Catholic. So when they see me, they already know, just go ahead and lock and close the doors, because I'm probably just like a homeless kid coming to use the bathroom or ask for something. Like, I've had situations where I just needed to use the bathroom really bad, and like they wouldn't let me in. I did get in, but it's like when I came out the bathroom, people act like I was in there for like 13 years, and like I had to do, this was in Cali though. The other situations happened, well actually no, a couple of them were on the West Coast. But anyways, hold up, because I'm kind of like all over the place. But so when I was in Cali, I went to this one Catholic church bathroom. Technically it was the cafe, not even really the church, but they have like cafes. Which honestly, when I see that, it reminds me of like that one situation. Don't remember what part of the Bible it was. Definitely the New Testament, where like Jesus had like ran the merchants out and beat them with ropes and stuff because they were selling goats and stuff. But anyways, so because I'm still all over the place, went to the bathroom, came out. This one dude threatened to like kill me, like, and he was like giving me this like look, and it's like I was only in there for like 5 minutes. And then back to like some of the worst situations. They say I can use the bathroom, and then they really don't want me to use the bathroom. And they're like, well, are you gonna go to the service? And then I have to like sit there and be terrified for some minutes and watch kids cry and say that they're scared and beg to leave. Because that's really how the services are. Like, one thing that I learned when I went to a Catholic church for the first time when I was in Alabama is that pagan Roman Catholic churches are scarier than the voodoo cult lady situation I was in back in, 2022. I actually have a video of that. I still haven't remembered to re-upload the part 2 though. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, getting escorted out by security guards and multiple staff. And actually no, I skipped over one of the craziest situations. This was on the same place. Well, no, it wasn't, because this happened a couple times. But another Catholic church, trying to figure out how to get in to use the bathroom. This specific building, they wouldn't let me in, which that also happened pretty often. But there was another one down the street, and they were doing the like demonic ritual after the whole sacrificial pope thing happened. Maybe it was before it happened, to be honest. But anyways, this lady had came up to me and she was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you doing here? And she was like, this isn't the time to be here. We're doing a memorial and I'm trying to get my faith together. And it's like I've never met a Catholic person who wasn't completely deranged and like horrifying. And it's like commonly, I mentioned this before somewhere in some video, I think the video about the Kundalini cult, which I was supposed to make a video of that, but I never ended up going back out there because I mean, just different things. It's honestly kind of far. It was in Bonnie Doon, but no, was it? I don't know. I know it was in the Redwoods. Maybe it was Bonnie Doon or Boulder Creek. But either way, I mentioned how all the Catholic people I meet, they always walk around talking to themselves. They're just like, just a lot of things happen, and they commonly end up unaliving themselves after a while. So yeah. Anywho, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so that happened. Then I walked down the street to the other building, and then this one dude said I could use the bathroom. It was very obvious that the other people didn't want me to come in, and that's something that happens pretty often actually. Like I remember there was this one Catholic church in Cali that would like give out food, and I was going by there to go to the park, and of course they don't want poor people to come in. They already are really racist too as well, and so they usually lie and say that they don't have a bathroom, which I hate when places do that. I hate when places that obviously have a bathroom lie and say they don't have a bathroom. But this one staff member had let me in to use the bathroom, and then the other staff had came and cursed him out, and they were like, why would you let them in the bathroom? You need to go get him out of there, because of course people always think I'm a dude. And they were like, you need to go get him out of the bathroom. And what else? They were like, you have 3 minutes. And it's like, dang, I haven't even used the bathroom yet. And they were like, you have 3 minutes to come out, and I'm waiting. And it's like, I have a lot of bathroom trauma due to different reasons. So whenever I feel like I'm being spectated and rushed to use the bathroom, it actually makes things way worse for me. And that happened, and I left, and then they like told me about how I had to leave and stuff. And that's just what I remember right now. But it's like, there was a point I was supposed to be getting at with this. Oh yeah, it makes you think of another thing where like this one dude said that one time he went into a church and asked for something to eat, and they told him to leave. And it's like a church is the last place to go to asking for something to eat. It's like, I mean, a lot don't even really feed their congregation anymore, but you definitely shouldn't go in there asking for something to eat, because like they're gonna assume that you're homeless or just in some bad situation. It's like once that happens, people automatically feel some type of way about you, and it has a lot to do with guilt. Kind of like I used to mention pretty often back on the evidence channels. Whenever you like ask for help or people just know that you're in like an abuse situation, people start to act funny towards you because they feel guilty for not doing anything to help you. And so they'll just like pretty much avoid you and like, yeah. So that's what it makes me think of, and it does have a lot to do with that. Also, this other thing where people like will act like you're manipulating them or like using them even though you haven't asked for anything or even said anything to them, but like if they just feel like something's going on, they'll start acting like you're manipulative or something. Kind of like how people think you're homeless, or if you are homeless and like you're sitting somewhere too long, especially like a place that's like crowded or has a lot of people, they'll accuse you of dry begging and like begging people for money or food. And act like you're like just like trying to do something to people that you're really not trying to do. Like you could just be sitting somewhere. I mean, you could be sitting at a bus stop waiting for the bus, but like if too many people are around, especially people that like have a lot of like homeless hate or like just hate people in certain situations, they'll just act like you're trying to secretly get stuff from people when you're really not. It's like sometimes there isn't really anything else to do or like anywhere else to go, or like you're just in a certain place because it's hot, or I don't know, plans fall through. And that's something that happens to me pretty often because I can't drive and I don't have a car. So commonly I end up in situations where I end up stuck places a little longer than anticipated because like transportation issues. But yeah, so I guess this is like the part 2 to why nomadic life can be depressing.